Hi there, I'm Stacy, the encaustic mixed media artist behind Studio Stacy. Encaustic literally means to burn in. So I paint with beeswax and a torch, and because it's mixed media, pretty much anything else I can get my hands on. If you're new around here, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. Consider subscribing and joining this artsy community. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button, which helps me get introduced to more like-minded artsy folks like yourself. Morning all, made it into the studio, and it's always kind of nice just walking over here to see the creatures out and about like they are this summer. So probably got some glimpses of the deer on our property, but not why I picked up the camera. I picked up the camera because I'm over here today to do another one of the leaf paintings that I've been doing, but kind of a twist on this one. So I'm gonna flip the camera around because I'm trying to decide. I keep looking over that way because there's a couple different color combinations, and I'm trying to decide which one. I have it narrowed down to 2, and I'm pretty confident in one of them, so I think that's what I'm going to go with. But let me flip the camera around and show you. I have it narrowed down to this set and this set, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to go with this set, but I'm only going to use 3 of these colors. I think I'm gonna eliminate this pale pink and use these 3. That's my plan anyways. And you can see these other leaf paintings, minus that blank board there, just have 2 colors on them, but I am gonna go with a different idea for this one and use 3, and I'll show you what I'm thinking here momentarily. So I'm going to start by laying down some of this bright yellow color, which is called Bittersweet. So this is called Bittersweet. I'm going to start laying down some of that. I've got the griddles turned on and warming up. So yeah, just probably put you on some sort of time lapse for this because not super exciting, but I'm going to use 2 panels for this. So I'm going to put this color down on both of those panels and we'll see where it takes us. Alright, I wanted to share with you 2 things. First, I don't know if you could tell in that time lapse, but I'm running out of paint on the griddle. There's not like a big pool of paint anymore. And I just have a few areas on these panels that just have a little bit of white showing through. So I don't need a lot more paint, but I'm having a hard time scooping kind of that paint up that's left on the griddle. So I thought I would show you how I kind of deal with that and compensate for that. And I should say I don't want to add more paint on the griddle because I think I'm just going to waste it. I don't need that much more. So, but basically what I do first is put a little bit more of the clear encaustic medium on it, and that just extends the paint a little bit. You can add a lot of encaustic medium to these high quality paints before you really dilute them out to almost nothing. So you can add a lot of that medium. So I'm going to do that first, and then I'm also, let me show you. I'm also going to use this catalyst tool. It's just a rubber catalyst tool. I think it's W06. And use that to scrape some of the paint that is in the paintbrush off onto the griddle and then dip it in there. Now you do have to be careful not to contaminate the paint. So I think you can see that, but there's some little bit of pink paint left on this one, and it scrapes right off because it's rubber. It's a non-porous material, so it just scrapes right off of the catalyst. It's a handy tool to have. And now I have just a bit more paint to dip my paintbrush in and get it off into just these few places that have white. I'm not adding any more paint to the griddle. And yeah, it's kind of a win-win situation. All right, color number 1 is down. And for color number 2, I'm going to be using this quinacridone magenta color. But I'm going to be using it in a slightly different way than you've seen me use it on the other leaf paintings. And that is, I'm going to make a stencil out of a leaf. The other day, Matt and I had to trim some tree branches because they were getting up in the power lines. And long-ish story short, if we don't trim them, the power company comes along and sprays everything underneath the lines, killing everything. And so we're trying not to have them do that. We're asking them not to do that, and then we're also just trimming the branches away from the power lines, so it will hopefully prevent any problems, because we don't want, you know, any power outages for us or any of our neighbors or anything like that. So we're trying to be responsible. But at any rate, we had to trim a lot of tree branches, and specifically the sycamore tree branches. And so what I did is I kept some of the leaves. I brought them here into the studio, kept the leaves, and I had this idea that I wanted to use them. Now this is not my invention, so let me just say this right now. This is not my technique. I did not invent this technique. I saw it in a video, and if I remember, I will link that down below where I saw that. I think it was Encaustic website, or I'll link it down below. I don't know for sure, but I'll find it and try to remember to link it down below. But these leaves, as you can see, are quite large. So I've decided to use them as a stencil, or use one of them as a stencil, and we're gonna see if I can get this to work. All right, so my idea is to spread this stencil over both panels, so have the leaf going across both panels. So now I have a couple different sizes, kind of a medium-sized leaf, a massive leaf, which I think is going to be way too big. That is massive. And then, so let's back to the medium. The massive size is not good. Medium might work, might be all right. Or this smaller one. And actually, I was actually thinking that the bigger leaf was going to work great for this, but after taking a look, I think I'm going to go, with the smaller one. And that way, let me pick you up here. That way there's room on the sides for more, because I want to add more to this after, hopefully, fingers crossed, I get this stencil to work out. strangely enough, that leaf was way harder to cut than I thought. Either my X-Acto knife is very dull, or you shouldn't cut leaves with an X-Acto knife. At any rate, it is now in half. Let me see, not in half, but in the sections I need it to be in. So here's one, here's the other, and yeah, we're gonna see how this goes. So fingers crossed, guys. Oh, I should tell you, I'm also gonna get out my heat gun because I don't want to use the torch with this leaf, no fire hazard here. So I'm gonna get out the heat gun for the next step as well. All right, here you guys go. Leaf stencil. It's not perfect. Matter of fact, this splotch, there was a hole in the leaf, which I accidentally got some pink on, but I don't hate it. And there's some splotches along this edge, but again, I don't mind it. Now, I could go back in and try to touch up some of these areas, but I think I'm just gonna let it be for right now. I also wanted to show you one more thing. See all these kind of little pinholes in here? Again, I don't mind it, but those are there because when I went and put the pink in this area, this paint was a little bit more, or the panel rather, the yellow paint and the panel was cooled off a bit. And that's why you get these kind of pits in it, because you're working with hot paint onto a cooler panel. So it's not a bad look. It's kind of rustic, and I have an idea of what I'm going to do with that. But you can see on these other panels, I think you can see that it's really much more of a smooth surface on these other panels. And so what I did on purpose was, because there was holes around this area, I specifically on purpose also made some pits and holes in the rest of the background, so it all just kind of blended in. This is a much more kind of marled background, if you will, than these other leaf paintings, which are definitely more solid, but I still really like it. So I think I'm going to let you go for today for this one, and I'm going to come back and finish it in this video for you guys. Like I always say, it'll just be a few seconds. For me, it'll probably be a day or two, but I will pick you back up and show you how I'm going to finish this. I plan on doing a lot of the fine line details like I did in those paintings with this in a different color. So stay tuned for that, and yeah, I'll show you the final results in just a few seconds. A couple days for me. Morning all. Made it back into the studio to finish these two panels, and I did that super easy image transfer that I showed you, I think, in the last studio video. I'll link it somewhere up here and you can go watch it if somehow you missed that transfer video. After you finish watching this, I'll link it up top or down below somewhere. And so now what I'm ready to do is do the fine line details on these leaves. And I'm going to be using this Indanthrone blue color, which is a very dark blue. Diluted, it kind of is this really pretty blue. So what I'm going to do is use some Encaustic medium and this blue color and mix the two together on the griddle. And then I'm going to take that mixed paint and drip them into these fine line writing tools that I'm going to be using, that you've seen me use before. But I just wanted to mention that in this episode, I'm going to be mixing the encaustic medium with the paint. And I know I've mentioned this in previous episodes, but haven't done it, specifically this painting. So these leaf lines were actually done in this Egyptian violet by R&F, but it's such a dark purple when you don't dilute it. It almost comes out black. There is a little bit of a purple tone to it, but I just want to make sure that on this pink background, it comes out in more of a blue shade rather than a very, very dark blue, almost black shade. Hopefully all that makes sense. So I'm going to dilute, again, I'm going to dilute the paint onto the griddle, take that brush there, drip that paint into these teeny tiny writers. This one will be a little bit easier to get into. This one's a teeny tiny little hole there. And so yeah, that's my plan for the day. I'm also going to just use this sketchbook where I smeared some of that pink paint onto the background of this and just, you know, experiment with that diluted blue to make sure it's the color that I want to use. And hopefully you're finding all of these explanations kind of handy, if you will. But I just wanted to take the time to explain that before I start jumping into the painting process. All right, all, I think you can tell that I've lightened that blue color up. It's still rather dark on the pinky reddish color, but I think it definitely doesn't look black per se, it looks more blue. So I'm gonna call this done for today, and I might come back and just take one more look at it before I take the tape off and everything, but I'm gonna call it for today in the studio. I'm a bit hungry for lunch, and those little tiny details are very, very tedious and a little bit backbreaking, if you will. And I just wanted to thank you so much for coming along. If you have any questions on anything, definitely let me know down there below in the comments. Again, thanks so much for coming along. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. It truly, truly does help me out. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.